when either one of those key systems is changing or its relationship to other systems goes into change state.
You guys are too much fun.
Oh, yeah, you know,
sorry about that, you should hear us argue in private.
I mean, we'll go on like this for hours between us going, you know, well, did we miss? No, but it ain't here yet. You know, we can see stuff, and people go, oh, we don't see it yet. It's like, oh, okay. So we hear the truck start the engine, the headlights come on, you're standing in the street, we go, wow, did you see the truck begin? And everybody, not everybody, but a fair number of Cliff's readers and mine are going, oh, I don't feel like we've been hit by the truck yet. And I'm going, it's up to 20 miles an hour. So, okay, fine. You know, when we get to middle of November, if you don't feel like you've been hit by a truck, then we'll gracefully admit, oh, that wasn't a truck, that was
but also, I'm not saying that it'll occur that way, George. I'm saying that the language has turned. It was quite clear with the announcement, the building tension language announcement of the swine flu emergency. Okay, anything that where the government comes on out and tries to do something more in a grander scale along those lines creates building tension because it forces us all into an unknown state. And there were already enough people that were paranoid about that occurrence. So that started it here, and it's actually had various different ramifications all around the planet. So because it was a global populist thing, it was never intended to be, you know, nuke out of a city in the U.S. And there's a certain amount of memering about our stuff. Let's be very clear about that. There are individuals who are paid by likely government that go on out and say, will repeatedly attempt to control anticipated results from our work in the general public. And I've seen it, we've tracked it. It was one of our first memering experiments. And what they do is they say, well, you know, the Webbots say such and such could occur on this day, and then they start throwing out in emails that's associated with this other thing, which leads you to this other thing, and oh, by the way, it comes immediately back around to Webbots say, you know, that nukes going to go off and dump outside of such and so in North Carolina on this day, when in fact we never did state that. Now, and it's quite true though that the language I was expecting and the results of the impact from the derivatives is just still currently manifesting. Bear in mind things like the Western Texas crude contracts are at the core of some of these interest rate and commodity-based derivatives. So this
just like
basically. Correct. This changes the structure of the whole planet relative to that. And so there's very large moves underfoot. And Georgia's little clues here with Locke being in China as maybe a way of getting, in my view, of getting the Chinese to come back and buy our debt, which would be unsuccessful in any event, that's a very significant play. And at the same time, by the way, we've actually had more words pop out about the Russians being in fact involvement with Cuba. And so we're getting back to this, again, building tension language. Once we get into the choppiness here from November on, there will be enough clues, but it's going to be a rough winter. It's going to be, as George points out, a poor Christmas, a poor holiday season, risk of foreclosure, all of this, high tension levels, and falling job prospects. The unemployment issue is really, again, surfacing. It's going to get a lot worse this winter as everything but government starts settling back. And as George points out, you can't believe the government statistics, and yet they're constantly thrown at you through these headline numbers. So the propagandists, to a certain extent, are doing their job very well, but you can only take propaganda so far before it starts becoming a caricature of itself. And we're just about that point, and I believe that will really start and be effectively felt on November 5th. This is also a point at which we think that the language for around the dollar will start showing up, more of the words around the idea of repudiation or rejection by all. And so we should start seeing more countries that will refuse to accept it and so on. It's merely a matter of catching the wave of the process and seeing where it affects you. Now, for instance, I don't have any paper debt, so I'm not affected by this. But there were a lot of people that are messing around with the Forex and the Comex and so on that are very much affected by this. Still, well, I've talked to people and they've said, well, I hope hyperinflation hits because then I can just pay off my house. But wait.
at the top of the hour. We're going to break right now. Obviously, Steve wanted to jump in and let me know. We'll be right back, folks.
All right, we are back. Hour number 2 here on MilitiaRadio.com. This is the Militia Roundtable. Take it away, Bruce.
Okay, well, before I forget, both of you, just take a minute and tell us about your website. And Cliff, why don't you start and let us know when your next report's going to be out.
I should have it out by December 15th, and it should just be there on a Buy Now button. We don't do subscriptions anymore, and you just purchase it. It'll be for $10, and it's halfpasthuman.com.
And
Okay.
urbansurvival.com. I don't charge for that. I have a small newsletter, which is $40 a year. People tell me I'm crazy. I should be charging 10 times that. Frankly, I don't care. and
Yeah.
I really don't. You know, it's like, the website.
He also, all right, wait, George. Everybody also needs to go read George's site at urbansurvival.com /week.htm every day, because you're talking to a fellow there that I liken him to a modern-day Will Rogers. Very entertaining, insightful social commentary, as well as that terrible economic stuff that he makes understandable.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
you
very
do it
nice
right.
of you. Thank you. Gee, Cliff is a genius. Unfortunately, as good a humorist as I try to be, and as good a computerist as Cliff is, both of us have more or less taken the vow. We refer to it as the vow of poverty of time monks. We've just kind of gotten past the material stuff. To the point of not caring. I mean, yeah, do I have a nice old shiny red car? Yeah, it's real sporty and everything else, but that's not where America's going. Where America's going, I call it the Mexification of America. If you can picture a highly advanced civilization losing half of its income, and what happens to society over that process.
Well, hey,
what
George,
we're in.
yeah, that's a beautiful example, because all you guys have to do is to go and look up the troubled days in Cuba, because Cuba was abandoned by Russia when Russia's economy collapsed in quote, the end of the Cold War there, and Cuba suffered an 85%. The whole population lost 85% of its income overnight, and it caused huge social ramifications. And it's a good clue as to what we have yet to go through, and tons of lessons to learn.
Yeah, we definitely have. But before break, I got to bring us back just a little. What's your answer to those folks that say, hyperinflation's coming, no worry, I'll just pay off my house?
That's the traditional use of such periods, oddly enough, or rather practically enough. In previous periods of hyperinflation, going all the way back to the period of the collapse of Rome, what we might think of as the middle class and the upper level working class, it used that period of time to sell assets, what was called dishoarding, and usually their goal was to extricate themselves from debt, and it actually spawned some of the smaller fortunes around the world and some of the more famous wine country kind of acquisitions and this sort of thing, when people would get out of debt and establish a base for growth. So this time, though, I have reasons for suggesting that if you can pay it off suddenly like that, maybe it's to your benefit. I don't know if it would be tax-wise or ultimately financially. That's going to be on an individual personal level. In general, in the past, it has been used that way. Here's another opportunity. So, for instance, say that you owed, let's just pick a number, $100,000 on a piece of property, and you were able to buy gold coins now at, say, $1,070 or whatever it is, and they double in price. Well, you'd only have to buy 50 of them if you had that kind of wherewithal. But personally, I think as long as you can keep paying the mortgage and you're not at risk of being chucked on the street, you may want to put a lot of that money into other things like food, energy stores, that kind of thing. George may disagree, though.
You know, it's curious. I thought I might disagree, but I don't. I bought property in East Texas that was very inexpensive. I still maintain a very, very small mortgage on a very small piece of property adjacent to the main property. And I also bought a tractor on credit, not because I needed to use credit. I didn't write a check for the darn things, but credit's one of those funny things. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so I've tried to keep a credit rating
George,
wise.
I would say that's true. I don't use it, and I have absolutely none. I couldn't get credit if I tried. So go ahead, George.
Yeah. I mean, and it matters, you know, little. I think in the next couple of years, I think we're in a different kind of cycle now than we have ever been in historically.